Welcome to our video on consumer loans. So in this lesson, we are going to determine payments for an add-on loan, learn how to compute finance charges on credit cards using the unpaid balance method. We're also going to learn how to compute those finance charges using the average daily balance method. And then we are going to also compare credit card finance charge methods. So to begin, let's look at calculating a monthly payment using the add-on interest method. And this is pretty much exactly like it sounds. We are adding on the interest and then dividing that total amount due by the number of months needed to pay back the loan. So this is where if you watch the video on interest and we looked at calculating simple interest and then like total amount using the principal plus the interest, this is kind of building off of that. So we are going to take our principal and add the interest to it, divide by the number of monthly payments we're going to make, and that gives us the monthly payment that we will have. So how about this? Okay, so we have Angela, whose bank has given her a 4-year add-on interest loan for $6,480 at an annual interest rate of 11.65%. So if you recall, interest is principal times rate times time. So our principal is 6,480. Our rate in decimal is 0.1165, and the time in years is 4. So when we grab our calculator and we want to do 6,480 times 0.1165 and then times 4, that gives us a total interest that will be paid of $3,019.68. So how about the payments? Well, principal plus interest divided by the number of payments. So if we are looking at a 4-year loan, okay, then we need to remember that 4 years is going to be 48 monthly payments. Okay, so we will have our $6,480 plus the interest of $3,019.68 and divide that by 48 monthly payments. And when we do that, we get that each payment is going to be $197.91. So this is how much Angela's payments will be to pay back this loan in 4 years. Okay, now let's jump into the unpaid balance method. And again, this one kind of, it is what it says it is. So the unpaid balance at the end of every month is what we get charged interest on. Now, what is important to remember here is that because we are calculating the finance charge for only 1 month, remember T is always in years, and there are 12 months in every year, so 1 month would be 1/12 of the year. Okay? So in order to find the finance charge for the following month, we take our previous month's balance, add on any finance charge from last month's balance, add the purchases made, subtract any returns, subtract any payments, and then we can find the next month's finance charge, because that will give us the unpaid balance. So something that a lot of students kind of get turned around on here is that when we make a purchase, okay, that increases the amount that we owe to the credit card company. That increases the balance on our credit card. When we make a payment, that decreases the amount that we owe. And that is important to remember as we move forward with these credit card scenarios. Okay, so unpaid balance. Well, let's see. We have last month's balance of $475. Okay, we need to find the interest on that. Okay, so that's going to be 475 times our annual rate of 0.18 times the number of years that we are going to be getting that interest rate. Well, we're only talking about 1 month, so that's 1/12 of a year. Okay, so we have 475 times 0.18 times 1/12, and that gives us $7.13. Okay, so to our 475, we need to add $7.13. We made a payment. Remember, payments subtract. Okay. We bought a ski jacket that increases our balance. And we returned something, so that decreases our balance. And this is going to give us our unpaid balance for this particular month. So we take our 475 and add the $7.13. That's the finance charge from the previous month. We subtract our payment, add the purchase, and subtract the return. And that gives us a new ending balance of $292.13. Now, what is going to be the finance charge on that unpaid balance? Well, we have our balance, our rate, and the number of years. Okay? Which means that the amount of interest we are going to pay on our credit card for this particular balance is going to be $4.38. All right. Let's look at the average daily balance method. The average daily balance method does have a lot of moving parts. So as you're watching this video, feel free to pause, rewind, come back, take notes, and reach out to your instructor for any questions that you might have. Okay. Just as with the other methods, the name of this method is very descriptive. Average daily balance. So what is the average balance that we carry on our credit card throughout the month? Well, we begin by adding the balances of all the days of the month. So whatever the balance is on that particular day, we add it all up. Then we find the average. We divide that sum by the number of days in that month. And then we calculate the finance charge. Now, because this is the average daily balance method, we need to use a daily finance charge, which means that our T is going to change to a daily calculation. So our formula, I equals PRT, is going to remain the same. Principal is the average of all of our balances. R is the annual interest rate. T now is the number of days in the month divided by 365. So we are taking that annual interest rate and the number of years that we are calculating for is whatever number of days divided by 365 to convert our yearly interest rate to a daily interest rate. Okay, let's look at this in practice. All right. So our previous month's balance is $280. Okay. So on August 1st, our balance is $280. And on August 2nd, because we haven't done anything, and on August 3rd, and again on August 4th. That is the balance on our credit card each of those days. Now, on August 5th, we make a payment of $75. So we reduce the amount that we owe by $75, which means that now on August 5th, our balance is $205. Okay, notice that on the 4th, it's $280. On the 5th, we make that payment of $75. So we reduce the balance on our credit card by $75. And our credit card balance does not change. It does not change until August 15th. So each one of these days, and don't worry, I'm going to show you a shortcut to this. I just want to lay it out in calendar form to begin with. And if the calendar form is what you understand best, there's no reason why you can't continue to use the calendar form. I personally think it makes a lot of sense. There's just a shorter way to go about this. Okay? All right. Now on August 15th, we are charged $135 for hiking boots. So we go and we buy hiking boots for $135, which means that we increase our balance by $135, which brings our balance now to $340. And again, we remain at $340 until August 21st. Thinking about going to the 21st that I was writing 2 instead of a 4. Okay. Now on August 21st, we purchased $16 worth of gasoline, so we increase our balance by $16. So now our balance is $356. And it remains $356 until the 24th, where we go out to eat and we increase our credit card balance by another $26. and it remains that way for the remainder of the month. Okay, so I promised you an easier way to look at this. So we filled out our calendar, okay? But there is a much easier way of doing this. So the balance on August 1st, okay? This balance is true for days 1, 2, 3, and 4, and this balance is $280. So we have the balance for 4 days. Okay. Then when we make our $75 payment, that's true for days 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, and 14. And that balance is $205. Okay. So for 10 days, our balance is $205. Then we charged $135 on the 15th. So that's good for the 15th, the 16th, the 17th, the 18th, the 19th, and the 20th. And when we charged $135, that takes our balance to $340. And our account is at $340 for 6 days. Then we charge $16 on the 21st. So for the 21st, 22nd, and the 23rd, our balance is $356. So for 3 days, our balance is $356. And then on the 24th, for the 25th, 26th, 27, 28, 29, 30, and 31, because we charged another $26. So now our balance is $382, and it is that balance for 8 days. Okay. So you do 4 times the 280 plus 10 times the 205 plus 6 times the 340 plus 3 times the 356 plus 8 times the 382, and that gives you a total of all of these values of $9,334. But when we divide that by 31, that's going to give us the average balance that we carried throughout the month. So our average balance is going to be $301.10. So this is what we're going to do to find our finance charge. So we take our average balance, we multiply it by our interest rate, and What did we have for our interest rate? Unfortunately, I can't go back to the previous slide. So for the interest rate, we have a 21%. Okay, so 0.21. Now, there are 31 days out of the year. Okay, so you take your 30110, multiply it by your percentage rate, and then multiply it by the 31 over 365. And that gives you a finance charge on your average daily balance of $5.37. So remember, for the average daily balance method, you are going to average the balance and use that averaged balance to calculate the finance charge. Don't forget to change that T time to a daily rate. The only reason we use 31 here is because August has 31 days. If you're using April, for example, you would use 30 days. So just make sure that you are using the correct number of days in that numerator slot for the month that you are working with. So now let's look at a comparison. So we have the same purchases, different cards. So we have one card that uses the unpaid balance method. And remember, that's last month's balance plus last month's finance charge. Take away any payments, add in any charges. That gives us the unpaid balance of $408.75. And the finance charge on that is $7.15. Now, the average daily balance, we want to take the average of all of our balances. So the average balance that we are carrying on this card is $722.58. And when we calculate that, we get a finance charge of $12.89. So it is extremely important when you are looking at different credit card options and different credit opportunities to make sure that you are paying attention to how the finance charges are calculated so that you can be a wise consumer of credit. So as always, please ask your instructor if you have any questions. We are here to help in any way we can.